The success of an information resource protection program depends on the policy generated. We are mainly going to deal with information technology. For that reason, it is called IT security policy. It assigns responsibility for various areas of information security. Hello to all, a warm welcome to my new session on Introduction about Network Security. I'm Revati from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So dear student, before going to start my today's session, let me to recall the things what I have covered in my last session of this chapter. So in the last session of this chapter, I started with the security system development life cycle. That means to develop any security system, what are the phases we want to encounter. So there I discussed total 6 different phases of security system development life cycle, and this is very important from the examination point of view. That means you can surely expect one question from this topic. Now, in my today's session, at the beginning, I'm going to deal with information security policy. Along with that, I'm going to deal with type of policy. So dear student, this type of policy is once again very important topic, and you can able to expect this question for your external exam. Now, instead of wasting much of time here, let's moving on to the topic, that is information security system. So what is this information security system? You may ask me that what is information security system? That means we all are familiar with security system or information system, but I want to provide this security for that system, and how I'm going to provide this security for my information system. All those things we are going to deal in my today's session. Now, the success of an information resource. See here, the success of an information resource protection program depends on the policy generated. That means if I consider any information system, okay, that is depends on the protection. That means how we are going to provide the protection or security, and it mainly depends on the policy generated. For example, I can able to consider the examples like Gmail account, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, Telegram, etc. Now, we are going to use all this software because we are going to trust all this software because it provides necessity security for our data as well as information, and all these things are mainly depends on the policy which is generated by the company. Now, on the attitude of management towards securing information on automated system. So here, the success of any information resource protection program which is depends on the policy generated. And now tell me, who is responsible for providing policy? That is none other than particular company. So dear student, let me to consider one simple example that I'm running some software company and I'm going to develop some software, and To develop any software, first I want to consider the metrics, that is how to provide the protection or how to provide the security. So at the beginning itself, I'm going to generate the policy that how I'm going to provide the security, in which manner I'm going to provide the security, etc. So here policy is an essential foundation. That means if I consider any security system, the policy is essential foundation of an effective information security program. The best example I can able to consider here is all the antivirus software, because all the antivirus softwares are able to provide security for user data. So the best example here I can able to consider all the antivirus software. Now I'm having policy. So what is policy here? What's the need of policy? If I consider any organization or any institute or any company, they must have their own policy as well as their own standard. And if I consider information system, then it also must have their own policy. So it explains the will of organization management in controlling the behavior of employees. That means if I consider any organization, it mainly going to explain the management how they are going to control the behavior of employee. That means it's mainly going to focus on controlling behavior of the employee. Along with that, it also going to direct how issue should be addressed and which technology should be used. For example, think that in your organization, if any system get infected, in that situation, how you're going to address the problem and what solution or what technology you're going to use to solve that problem, that comes under policy. Policy do not specify the proper operation of equipments or software. So here in the policy, we are not going to mention which kind of software we are going to use and what are the precautions we are going to take. Along with that, what are the operation we are going to perform. And if I consider any information security system, the policy is going to place very important role, because in the policy itself we are going to write or define the rules as well as regulation in order to manage information security system. Now there are three type of policy. That means if I consider any organizational policy, there are three types. One is enterprise policy, another one issue specific policy, as well as system specific policy. And from the examination point of view, this is also very important topic, and this is the short question. Now let's see what is enterprise information security policy. So what is my first type of policy here? That is enterprise information security policy. In short, it is called EISP, and it's also called by the name General or Security Program Policy, Enterprise Information Security Policy. So it is security program policy. Why it is called security program policy? In the enterprise information security policy, we are going to provide all kind of security, and for that reason it is called security program policy. So here it's also called by the name General Security Policy or IT, that is Information Technology Security Policy or Information Security Policy. So here we are mainly going to deal with information technology. For that reason it is called IT Security Policy. Now here the that is EISP is based on direct support the mission, vision and direction of the organization. If I consider any organization, each organization is going to have their own vision as well as their own mission. And if I go with EISP, then it is directly related to the mission, vision and direction of the organization, and it's also responsible for setting strategic direction as well as scope and tone of all the security efforts within the organization. So by using information security system, we are going to provide the security within the organization, and that kind of security systems are called Enterprise Information Security Policy. And this Enterprise Information Security Policy is an executive level document, and who is responsible for drafting executive level document, that is none other than Chief Information Officer, and it includes 2 to 10 pages. Along with that, it sets the strategic directions as well as scope as well as tone for organization security efforts, and it assigns responsibility for various areas of information security. So here, when I consider any resource, we must have to provide the security, and to provide security, we must write the policy, and to write the policy, at the beginning, I'm going to use Enterprise Information Security Policy, and here I'm going to focus only about mission, vision and direction of management with respect to information management system. Now here, overview of the corporate philosophy on security. So, overview of the corporate philosophy on security is also one of the element of EISP. Along with that, information about information system organization and information roles. That means we want to gather information about all the information security organization. Along with that, we must have information security role, along with that responsibilities for security, and they are shared by the member of organization. If I consider any organization, the responsibility of taking security is managed by all the members of the organization. And if I consider any enterprise, the management as well as dividing of the security must be carried out all the members of an organization. Responsibility for security that unique to each role within the organization. If I want to consider responsibility of security system that is unique from one organization to another organization, or one person to another person within the organization. Now, let's see some of the example component of Enterprise Security Information Policy, that is statement of purchase. Suppose while drafting any receipt or while drafting any voucher, you must make this statement of purchase. That means when it is purchased, what is the serial number and what is the quantity, what is the amount, everything must be mentioned properly. So it must include statement of purchase along with that information technology security elements. That means we must want to consider the areas where we are going to provide the security and what are the security element. Everything must comes under ESIP. Need for information technology security. That means why I require information technology security. That means why I want to provide security for particular information technology. For example, if I consider WhatsApp, it provides security for our data. And now I'm going to mention that why I go with WhatsApp, because it provides security for my data. Now, information technology security responsibility and role. Now here, if I consider any information technology, I must want to define the responsibility and role of information technology security, along with that reference to other information technology standards as well as guide. That means it allows the organization to refer to some other information technology standards as well as guidance, and all these things are the component of enterprise security information policy. Now I'm going to have issue specific security policy. So what is this issue? It is related to the issue. That means for particular issue, whatever the information security policy we are going to write, that comes under issue specific security policy, and it provides detailed and targeted guidelines. So here for particular issue, we are going to develop information security policy. In detail, we are going to provide the instruction. Along with that, we are going to provide the guidance. Protection against from inefficient and ambiguity. So, it protects the organization from inefficiency as well as ambiguity of data or ambiguity of information. So, here we want to protect the organization from insufficient information as well as insufficient ambiguity as well as security. The organization against liability for an employee's inappropriate or legal system use. So, if any employee who is going to illegally use the organization resource, in that time we can able to use issue specific security policy, because we cannot trust all the employees of an organization. Only specific employee can able to use specific IT technology. So here the organization against liability for an employee inappropriate or legal system use. So these are the very important point, and these are the very important topic from the examination point of view. Now, what are the topic or what are the components of ISSP? That is issue specific security policy. So, the topic comes under issue specific policy is email and internet use. If I consider any organization, there are n number of employees and we cannot able to make all the employee to use company or organization email or internet use. In that time, we want to restrict the employee. minimum system configuration. So if I consider any organization or any company, there are n number of employees and all the employees are not able to configure the system. And whatever the system they are going to use, that must be configured with minimum system configuration. Along with that, we must have to protect against hacking. And if I consider any organization, each organization is going to have vast number of information. For example, their organization information, organization profit information, along with that employees information. So all these things are stored in the information system. Now I want to provide the security for that system. For that, once again, I'm going to use information security management system. And I want to prohibition against hacking. Home use of company owned computer equipment. So there are many people, they are going to work from home. In that situation, they are going to use company's system as well as the own system. In that time, we are going to encounter issue specific system policy, and also use personal equipment on computer network. There are certain employee, they're going to use their own personal computer or any other gadget on company network and use of communication technology. So if they are going to use the cell phone which is provided by the company, in that situation also we are going to encounter with ISSP. Along with that, use of photocopy equipment. There are certain time we are going to use the printer or the Xerox machine which is provided by the organization. In that time also we are going to come across ISSP policy. So this is all about ISSP. So dear student, moving further, the components of the issue specific system policy. In that, at the beginning, once again, I'm going to have statement of purchase. That means we want to provide draft of statement of purchase of all the IT, that is information technology. Along with that, authorized access and usage of equipment. That means we must list the authorized access, along with that what kind of equipment we are going to use. Along with that, prohibited usage of equipment. Along with that, system management. That means what are the systems and which system is managed by which employee. All those things are comes under information management. Along with that, which software is used to manage system and what kind of security we are going to provide for that system. Along with that, violation of policy. Along with that, policy review and modification, limitation of liability. All those things comes under this issue specific system policy, and it's mainly related to particular issue which is going to arise in any particular organization or company, and how to manage the issue and how to solve the issue. All those things comes under issue specific system policy. Now I'm going to have managerial guidance, that is system specific policy. So if I consider any system specific policy, once again we are having policy, and which is related to the system. So if I consider any organization, they have their own system, that is nothing but the working procedure. Now in system specific often functions as standard or procedure to be used when configuring and maintaining a system. So when I talk about company, the company executes based on the system. And when I talk about system, each system must have some configuration as well as maintenance. And if I consider any IT technology, there once again we are having configuration of the system as well as maintaining of the system. For example, the system specific policy might describe the configuration as well as operation on a network firewall. So here the system specific policy is mainly going to deal with the computer system and which are present within the organization, how all the computers are connected, how it is configured, how all the computers are managed, and especially it's going to focus on firewall. So what is this firewall? Here firewalls are the gatekeeper and it is responsible for allow as well as block all the flow of data. Now this firewall is also comes under system specific policy. Now I want to design my firewall. That means now I'm going to write the rule which data can able to allow and which data I want to block. All those things comes under system specific policy. So it is created by management to guide and implementation and configure the technology. For example, think that any software company, okay, they have their own information security policy system. Now, the job of the management is to guide their employee to implementation and configuration of the technology, and applies to any technology that affects the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. So here in system specific policy, once again we are going to come across network security. That means I want to provide confidentiality as well as integrity and availability of the data, and all these things comes under system specific policy system. Informs technologies of management intent. Now it informs the technology of management, how to manage the data, how to provide the confidentiality of the data, how to provide integrity of the data, and how it's possible to make data is available to the user. All those things comes under system specific policy. So the best example I can able to consider here is life cycle replacement, and this is the phase of information security development life cycle. Now moving on to the type of technical specification of system specific policy, here is access control list as well as configuration rule. So what is access control list? In the access control, we are going to make a list that who can able to use the technology and how to configure the technology and how many people can able to use the system, etc. So the access control list is nothing but it provides complete information about how to access the resource, that is information security resource, as well as how to provide the protection for that resource and whom is responsible for managing the resource and who is responsible for providing the authorization of the resource. Everything comes under access control list. And moving on to the configuration rule, here we are going to configure the system as well as we are going to write the rule to protect the information against hacker or advisory or intruder. Now, the job of the intruder is to hack as well as damage the system as well as misuse the data. To provide security against information system, once again we are going to have the configuration rule. So at the beginning itself we are going to configure the system in order to provide the data security as well as data confidentiality. So dear student, in my today's session I started with what is policy, along with that the three type of policy, and from the examination point of view this is very important topic. So let's meet in the next session with new unit called cryptographic components. Until then, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.